All right. You guys ever watch the Travel Channel? I know you guys probably get baked and watch a lot of TV sometimes, you know. Or you might have read the books. Rick Steves is an internationally known travel writer, public television producer, Europhile. He spent a third of his adult life in Europe, where they've learned that arresting pot smokers makes absolutely no sense. Rick's a lifelong time board member of NORML and outspoken on the need for the United States to end its prohibition on marijuana. Rick flew all the way back from a 6-week research trip in Europe just to join us today. Thank you for hanging out, man. This weather ain't nothing. Give it up to Rick Steves!
Hi there. I was just in Vienna yesterday for breakfast. I wouldn't come home for much, but this is such a great scene. I wish you could be up here looking at all these people. You know, I was in Europe where there's 400 million people that, for them a joint is about as exciting as a can of beer, really. It's just no big deal over there. And we're working on the same vision right here. I'll tell you, as a travel writer, I've spent a third of my adult life living out of a carry-on-the-airplane-sized suitcase, over mostly in Europe, talking with people who find different truths to be self-evident and God-given, and it's really very stimulating to have people take a look at our culture from far away and teach us a little bit about it. When they look at the United States and our drug policy, they see a misguided prohibition that is reminiscent of the prohibition against alcohol back in the 1920s and 30s. When you think about the prohibition against alcohol and what we learned as a society, when you take a problem and you create a system that is more costly to society than the problem itself to try to figure it out. They criminalized the sale and the use of alcohol, and they realized all the problems that we're making, and today I believe we've got a similar problem with cannabis. Now in the United States there's two approaches to drugs. You can be hard on drugs or you can be soft on drugs. In Europe, there's another approach. It's called smart on drugs. A drug policy for a nation should measure its success not by how many people it locks up and by how high they drive the street price of the substance up. The success and the effectiveness of a drug policy should be measured in harm reduction. If we as a society can think about harm reduction when it comes to drug policy, we'll see the insanity of our war on marijuana. In Europe, they've got drug problems. 7,000 people died last year from drug overdoses. Nobody was hurt by marijuana in Europe, and they understand that. So their drug policy focuses on hard drug abuse. I was just in Zurich a couple weeks ago, went into a public toilet, there was a blue light. What's going on? Blue light. I couldn't see my veins. If you're a junkie trying to shoot up in Zurich, you can't find your veins in the public toilets. What do? Go down the street to the needle center, where they've got clean needles, they've got consultation, and they've got a way for you to manage your addiction and get yourself back on track. In Europe, marijuana is considered a soft drug like alcohol and like tobacco. In the European Union drug policy papers, they mention marijuana only in the sense of problem cannabis use. And they deal with it not with prisons, but with consultation centers, with letting people get smarter about their use of a recreational drug. In Europe, they've learned that a society has to make a choice. You can tolerate alternative lifestyles, or you can build more prisons. My European friends tell me the United States excels in something called incarceration. We're 4% of this planet with more than 25% of its inmates. We got too many people in jail in our country, and it's time we started to think, what's going on here? I just spent 2 months in Europe. I was in the shadow of the cathedral in Zurich, and people were playing backgammon in the park, on the grass, passing a joint around. Nobody cared. I was in Copenhagen, on the steps of the city hall. People were rolling joints. Nobody cared. It's not a big deal. I was in the Netherlands, not just Amsterdam. Every big town, every small town in the Netherlands has a coffee shop. Lots of coffee shops. That's where you go to get your marijuana. The menu looks like a drug bust over here. You got loner bongs. You can check your email. The older people don't like the edgy vibe, so they get their marijuana to go. Now, they've had their don't arrest pot smokers policy in place now for more than a decade, and they've got a real track record. And hard-bitten anti-drug law enforcement types like it. They like the idea that you don't arrest pot smokers. And what they found is marijuana is not a gateway drug. People don't smoke more pot where it's not something that is an arrestable offense. All over Europe, they've got easy laws on marijuana, and statistically, we Americans smoke more pot than they do. There's more Americans smoking pot per capita than people in the Netherlands. There's only one country in Europe that smokes more pot than us, and that's the Czech Republic, those crazy Czechs. Now, of course, we're preaching to the choir right here, and this is a pump-up time, and this is great. But when we break from this huddle, we got to go back to Main Street and talk to people in our world about what's going on here. This is awareness raising, and make it clear they're working on fear. They're working on fear. We're not talking kids smoking pot. We're not talking drug abuse. We're not talking driving while intoxicated. I'm talking, I believe that it is my right to enjoy responsible adult use of marijuana as a recreational drug. That is a civil liberty, and that's what we're standing for. Now, I'm a travel writer, and when my government says I can't go somewhere, there better be a good reason. I can't go to Cuba, I don't know why. Sometimes, for me, high is a place, and sometimes I want to go there. We are not criminals. If you or your friends are insulted by being criminals for enjoying marijuana, don't just complain about it, get active. There's a world of ways you can get engaged here and make a difference. I'm a board member of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, and I'll tell you, that's not a charity, that's a service, and they're doing our work. They're waging a dogged and a creative and an effective struggle to teach our government that this prohibition on pot is misguided and counterproductive. In the United States, we blow billions of dollars every year on a reefer madness kind of propaganda. Our White House is buying ads for the Super Bowl telling people that marijuana causes teen pregnancies. Surrounded by beer ads. What causes teen pregnancies? Alcohol. Okay. We got 60,000 people right now in jail because of marijuana. We got 800,000 people a year arrested for marijuana charges, 90% of them simply for possession. That would be laughable in Europe, but it's not laughable because it's real people. Real people whose lives are messed up by this misunderstood law. In the name of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that's what America's all about. We've got to stop the prohibition on marijuana. We've got to stop wasting billions of dollars of precious resources that could be put into better education for serious drug problems. We've got to stop undercutting the credibility of parents and teachers and policemen who have some important teaching to do other than reefer madness kind of stuff. We got to free our police and our courts and our prisons from congested caused by marijuana, and we need to start regulating and taxing it so we can enjoy it lawfully. Besides, if they arrested everybody in Seattle who smokes marijuana, I think tomorrow this city would be a much less interesting place to call home. I just want to wish each and every one of you happy travels, even if you're just staying home, okay? Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rick, for coming all the way from Europe. You know, you give us so much credibility, man. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how appreciative I am. Okay.